Hey, I've got my friend Evgeniy here. How you doing, man?
I'm doing really well. Thank you. Always happy to come back. Always happy to talk to you. We have full of energy. So it's very, very
One of
valuable
my
for me and
favorite
for you.
authors. There you go, man. I've read your book, and I must say I'm using one of those things. It's like you've put a worm in my head, right? So my favorite part is that thing that's called I think you call it an exercise snack,
Yeah, it's
right?
not mine, but I found it that I think it's very valuable and I start using them as well.
Oh well, geez, I thought you invented that, but hey, you know what?
Kind of.
I'll take that. So anyway, so this thing is really great. So you're sitting at your desk, you're doing whatever, and all you need is like a minute or two, and you just do whatever exercise you want to do. Sometimes, I would be doing something, I'll just be like, pretending I'm boxing, or I got some weights, I'll lift some weights, or I get up and do some squats and random exercise snacks. That's all you got to
But
think about.
it's important because the book is not about workout. The book is about soft skills, how to connect to people, and definitely you can sell more. And I do believe we're all in sales. Doesn't matter if it's MSP, MSSP, ice cream, which movie you're gonna look tonight, which college your kid's gonna go. We're all selling all the time. But the reason why this chapter even exists in the book, and it's a chapter called about burnout, of how to be present, because if you're an amazing human being, we know how to talk, we know how to ask questions correctly, we know how to connect, how to find hooks, reverse hooks, keep the conversation going, all this, the whole 9 yards, but we just don't have the energy. We're just not present. We're just miserable. Then it doesn't matter. Everything we learn, everything we can in theory do become completely absolute. If we wake up, if it's headache, if we do 3 calls and we want to kind of throw the towel, this is why the chapter is there to make sure you are on the top of your game as much as possible, that you're present, you're selling, you're doing your work, your customers are happy with you because as part of being an MSP, as part of doing a service, it's not just to sell the service, it's also make sure you're providing the customer success and customer want to stay with you a year after.
Yeah. And when you take whatever, you take a little bit of everything, right? And you find these little nuggets, right? And you could implement it in your life, change a little bit, et cetera, et cetera. And it's important because you also got to stay healthy, right? But let's jump back into the whole concept of soft skills versus tech skills, right? I mean, yeah, we're all teched out, right? Everybody's pretty smart. They know what they're doing. But then you got to translate that skill set when you talk to the other humans, right? So let's just talk about the jobs of CISOs and MSPs today and how they have got to communicate, risk tolerance, right, at a C-suite level. What do you think are the mistakes they're making? Let's start maybe there.
This is an interesting topic, very, very interesting topic, because in the end of the day, if we cannot align security to business and business doesn't understand what we do, or even IT to business, then the business is not going to allocate us money. Business is not will able to help us to grow. At the end of the day, we will fail as an executive. We will fail as practitioners to help the business. Because by design, the business people are there because they understand the business. If they understood security, they probably open a company about security.
Mhm.
Now, because they understand business, they understand numbers, they understand return on investment. So our job is to take the complex technical information, the risk, the vulnerabilities, the exposure to them and translate it to not simple language, to a business language and to the language they can understand and relate. This could be something with their kids. This could be something about the houses, where they live. This could be about vacation. This could be about the business and availability of the business able to sell. Like a very simple question could be, Mr. Board of Director or Mrs. Board of Director, if we not able to sell today whatever we're selling for an hour or a day, how much money will we lose? If we're not able to dispatch shipments, how much money will they lose? And they may know, they may not know, but this is where the soft skills come in. We're taking complex technical information and we are changing it to a simpler business conversation. And not just that, it's not just the words. Because if Julian doesn't like Evgeny as a human being or doesn't connect to Evgeny as a human being, guess what? I can make as many analogies as I want, many metaphors as I want. You're just not connected to me. And there's people that you come and you love them or you don't love them or you don't care. But if you go there and the salesperson, they have this analogy of the slicky, squeezy car salesperson that they're like very, very sweet, but you don't feel, they're not really there. They're not really true to what they're saying. They're just there to sell you something. But we can connect, and I should care about what I do, and I should care about you as a human being. And we are a very complex human being right now. We understand empathy. We kind of feel it deep inside. Am I bluffing you or actually who I am?
Hmm. Totally. I mean, being genuine today is getting more street credit than ever before. I at my last event, I sat through. I went to Tara Landis. She had a presentation on the art of persuasion, the 7 steps to the art of persuasion, and so I've done it through a little bit before. I've seen it before, but it was a really great refresher course, right? And it was really funny because as she was going through this presentation, I was thinking, wow, I don't do more of that one. Um, I've sort of like highlighted a few of the 7 things that you need to do to persuade a human, and there's tons of data, right, that backs up these points, right? And I was kind of say if I had to prioritize them, right, from me as a human that has evolved over some years, what would I consider my first superpower as persuasion? And so in my head, I was kind of like juggling, the 7 things and how to do it. And at the end, it was like, humans are persuading other humans to do stuff all day long, right? And if you don't have that skill set, it's pretty it's pretty miserable, right? You're not going to get what you want. So one of the things that the MSPs are always trying to are challenged at, right, is how do we convince my team to do something that they may not want to do or they should do, they're not doing well. So let's talk about the internal component of it. How do we persuade our teams to do better as a leader? What do you think are the things that they need to do?
Because there is always this idea of the difference between a leader and a manager is leader is showing by example. I think this is very, very fundamental. You cannot just talk about stuff. You can show and explain that you're doing it as well. And you're a leader because you're doing whatever you're telling them to do and you having good results. Then we definitely have the idea of the carrots and a stick. And each of the personalities will work differently. One person can say, if you do X, Y, Z, you're able to sell more, therefore you're able to get your bonus, whatever it is. Or we have the stick. If you're not going to do that, you're not going to be able to succeed, you're not going to sell more, then you're going to be out of the business. Now, the stick not always work in my mind, and the carrot not always work in my mind because we need to find there's maybe not enough just to scare them or to reward them. We need to actually enable them to do what they need to do. One of the chapters in the book is fear. We basically, okay, you're afraid to do that. You're afraid to ask the customer, Mr. Customer, would you actually buy the solution from me or the service from me after you did 2, 3 calls? Or maybe listening and understanding they're not asking the right questions on the right format of the question to understand what's happening with the customer. So I do believe we need a bit of a personal approach and we need to show example, not just on me, but pick few people, work with them. The moment they succeed, the other people in the room say, oh, they did that. They made these changes. They made this change in approach. So it's probably working. And we do coming back to curiosity. So we need to enable the curiosity to not just follow the tunnel vision, but understand they may try different things. And we cannot really claim that every way, not every way, like one framework will work for everyone because we're all different. That's why I call it a toolkit more than a framework. And what I'm getting is this: we need to show by example. We need to enable them and explain what can be done. We need to give them the tools. We need to spend time with certain individuals to later on, they become you leaders. They become your people that are going to inspire everybody else.
And for it's a good point because as a leader in an MSP, for example, you've got a whole bunch of your employees, and some of them are tasked with different activities, right? And the ones that's facing your clients, I mean, some are going to be really great at communicating to their customers, and some are going to be not so great. And what would you encourage your MSPs to sort of like get more training, get your people on the same board? How do you help your your team, if you will, right, to up their
So,
game?
one, training is definitely a good idea. Having said this, there are so many different training, there are so many different frameworks, and I don't really want people to spend thousands of dollars on something they may not going to use. I think step one, and I'm assuming the leader of the MSP understand that they're doing really well and already understand because they build the business. To sit down in a room and ask everyone, hey, what works for you? What do you see working for your customers? Sit down with people in the room together, or maybe in a Zoom together if you're remote, and people will share what's working for them and what's not working for them. And then the leader will look and understand what can be done better. This is maybe a good place to bring someone to listen and say, okay, this is what you can do. I did this several times with several companies where I sit down, understand what's potentially the problem, and suggest ideas what can be done better. We do all this calls over video. So is your video up? Do you have
Mm,
a good microphone? Do you actually looking in the correct video camera? There are small, tiny things that build you as a persona. You're not
mm,
gonna wear amazing, nice suit and a tie, and you're gonna wear flip-flops. Probably not, because you're going to ruin the entire image. Depending what you're trying to show, of course, you know. But there is certain things that build the character together. Same with the salespeople. We need all the pieces to align. So this is one example. So training, but training is going to fit you and not because it worked for somebody else.
yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, you can put people through training and put 10 people through training, and everybody's going to come out with a different outcome and a perspective, right? Is the practice that you implement, like how do you implement this, right? And what is best practice? There's a lot of tools now that's sort of like coming up. We saw quite a few AI tools that's sort of monitoring your phone calls to help you to identify, what are the right things and to say or not say. We're seeing a lot of tools as well helping in the way they write, so we can help people write a little bit better, things like this. But these tools are just again just tools, and we also got to be careful with all the AI empowerment tools that is raining down upon us. Right? What's your advice in how these MSPs and their people, their team, should embrace or use them?
One part is slow down because you mentioned training. But if you just do training, but you not let people to do the homework, to practice what they need to do, you still expect them to do 10 calls a day with customers, but you don't give them time to practice. You don't give them time to do the mini exercise, the exercise snacks. Don't give them time to be present, then you're going to lose this battle. AI tools are great in some cases, but again, so let's take an example of AI tools that listen to you speak, show you your filler words, show you the percentage of how much you talk, how much the customer talks, how much the sales engineer talks. Do you review them? Do you spend time to understand, oh, I actually have this filler words. I spend quite a lot of time. I interrupt the customer while they're speaking. So if I don't have time to revert back, understand, analyze, and see what I can do better, especially if I work as part of the team. If I work as a sales and sales engineer in a bigger group, for example, then we need to really understand how we helping each other because we are not there to show who is bigger, who is stronger, who is smarter. No, we're there to make a deal. We're there to help a customer as a team and not as an individual. And this requires time to understand how we work together. One of the best things I think people can do to understand the synergy between the people is to move furnitures. Because if you're moving furniture, you don't see each other, you can barely talk. If you don't have this idea how do you move the couch left and right, you're gonna scrape every wall in the house when you're doing it. But when you have a good synergy, when you understand each other well, then you're like, oh, move up, down. No, because it's also heavy. You don't really have time to talk. And where I'm going with this, spend the time as a team to learn how to work together. Can you use Signal, WhatsApp, Slack, Teams during the call to communicate to each other? Say, wait, don't go there. No, I'm have the ball. Let me speak. Or maybe you don't want to do this. Maybe you want to have a Google document running with you. Whatever the technique you want to use to communicate, I can give you ideas. But again, it's quite simple. You just need to understand what you can do. I have friends that tell me, dude, I don't have enough focus point to talk to the customer and look on your WhatsApp. Don't write me anything. I'm like, okay, then it is what it is. So we just decide what is the best outcome of this call, which points you want to take, or we say, okay, John, Steven, Danny, Julia, let me interrupt you. Because we know we can do that. This is the best form and the way to stop each other and take the ball from the other person.
Just don't roll your eyes, just don't roll your eyes. You don't want to do that. And by the way, if you're going to move furniture down or up a stairs, you got to decide who's going to be in the top and who's going to be on the bottom. And
It's
I can tell
show.
You,
this is a night show. No, this is a different show.
That's a different show. We'll talk about that later. So, my friend, I mean, look, what we're doing here is like, here's a chat between Julian and Evgeniy about his book, obviously, but also it's a sort of a bit of an example of how maybe you should approach this game. First of all, get the book. It's a pretty short read, by the way, so it's really cool. There you go. And the second thing is, have your team read chapter 1, have a meeting on it the next week or whatever. Then have them read chapter 2, and then have a meeting, have a discussion on it, and then read chapter 3. Over like whatever, 8 weeks. How many chapters are there, Evgeniy? I forgot now.
There's 13 chapters, but again, every chapter is like 15, 10 minutes. It's not a very long chapter.
So 13 chapters, 2 months. All right. You got it done. But don't do it alone. I think it's really more interesting if you did as a project with your team, because this is going to help your whole team. So start chapter 1, have a review, whether it's on Zoom or, in person over a breakfast or whatever, it's up to you. But discuss it, right? And have everybody come to the table and says, here's what I found in that chapter. What did you find? And, they're going to find these nuggets together. And I just got a feeling that things like this is probably what's missing. It's really cool to everybody get the book and just read it by themselves. But it's really cooler if you use it as a bit of a program, a challenge, if you will, within your company. So, that's what I would recommend about that. I found my little nuggets out of it, and I hope you can find yours. So until next time, Evgeniy, we're going to continue to dig into the book and then see what else we can bring to these great channel partners to help them. Any last words?
Maybe it's an idea. We'll bring 1 or 2 partners on a call and just live review the problems they have and recommend ideas.
Why not? Look, we're all about helping the channel make things better. So that's what we do, my friend. Until next time.
Thank you very much. Till next time.